Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Societal Narcissism. This video is sponsored by contribution from Aaron. Aaron gave a general contribution, which I'm going to use on this video. Well, we have another one. Another estranged parent channel licking their wounds and passing blame. This woman, Sally Harris, Moms of Defiant Adult Kids expert. Who labeled you an expert? That's my first question. Who labeled you an expert? You're an expert on adult defiant kids. Really? Really? And the word defiant, right in the title, the word defiant is just so telling to their thought patterns, to what they think of themselves and their own authority and their inability to take responsibility for anything. Defiance is somebody who's defiant is usually somebody you think of as lesser than you, or a child, like an actual juvenile. Defiance is a term generally linked to a juvenile. But like I said with these people, they want to hold you to an adult standard as a child and then never allow you to grow up and then take zero responsibility for any of their actions. I didn't even put in my headphones yet. So as soon as I put in my headphones, we will get right into this. Ugh. Can't mess up the bun, right? So let me just make sure my sound blocker is off. And here we go.
Hey you guys, hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to come to you and talk to you about if you are feeling, or if your adult child makes you feel like you're a bad parent, or if you think you're a bad parent. Usually a lot of
let me ask, and this is what I would tell my mother, because my mother would accuse me all the time as a child of guilt tripping her, of making her feel guilty. And again, and I said it to her as a child, and I stick to it now. You wouldn't feel guilty unless you had something to feel guilty about. If you're really this wonderful parent, okay, why would you believe you are a bad parent because of what a child says to you? Even as an adult, why? Why? Unless there are things in your mind that you have done, that you know you have done, that you don't want to be called out on. And these people don't feel it. It's not guilt they feel. It's the accountability they don't want to deal with.
those cases are the adult child who has gone astray or who's struggling. They come back and they blame you as the mom for anything and everything that's ever gone wrong in their life. Maybe why they're not.
Blame you, the mom. Again, no talk of the dad. And believe, I came from a two-parent household, but it seems like a lot of these are coming from single mothers. Where are the fathers? Now, this first video call out I did was two men. And boy, is that dude over there having a fun time in the comments lately. That's neither here nor there.
Successful, etc. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And for those of you that are new here, my name is Sally Harris, and I help desperate moms of defiant adult children. I help the moms regain their own life by creating a plan.
Regain their own life. It's always been about their own life and their own selfishness. What you're doing, Sally, is helping them avoid any accountability whatsoever for their abusive behavior.
And that is going to provide hope, peace, and health, ultimately, for the mom. So after the video, I'll put a link to my discovery call. It's a free call. So if you're a mom dealing with these issues, I would love to talk to you.
I'm sure you would.
So does your child actually...
And here would be my question to Sally here, okay? If I could talk to her. Here's my question to her. Because on my channel, with me, I've had plenty of people write into me, okay, that I have publicly called out in the video, where I said, "Nuh-uh, you're the problem. you're the narcissist, you're the borderline, you're the abuser, this is what you're doing, how you're doing it, and it's wrong. How many of these mothers that are calling you up have you had to call out for their own behavior? I'd be real surprised if the answer was greater than 0. Could be wrong, never talked to her, but something's telling me it's 0.
Actually blame you for everything. Maybe if they're not successful, like I said, because I think we have to realize first and foremost that raising a child is not exact science. And there's no manual, right? And I think every one of us moms...
There it is. Again, there's no manual. Okay. Another point I've brought up repeatedly on this channel that needs to be reminded, because I don't think I've said it in a while. When you think about your abuse, my abuse, okay, the abuse of Marnie, the video I did before this where she's calling out these people too. Do you need a manual not to call your children a fucking idiot, an asshole, fuckface, stupid, moron, ugly, fat, loser? You need a manual for that? In my case, do you need a manual to be told to tell you, hey, you know what? It's bad if you go into your kid's room at night and try to fucking fondle them. It's bad if you have some kind of weird obsession with sticking things in their ass. Oh, honey, look. The manual said, if I only had a manual. If I only had a manual, now I know. Now I know not to steal my son's masculinity, ruin my daughter's femininity, compete with her entire life, steal her identity, ruin her self-esteem, call her names, neglect her, bully her, physically abuse her, sexually abuse her, hand her off to any fucking next dick and attention I'm looking, next stepdaddy who abuses her. Oh, if I only had a fucking manual. If I only had a fucking manual to tell me that all of that is wrong. Oh, now I know, but hey, there's no manual. You want to know why there's no manual, stupid? Okay, because it's common freaking decency. Some things don't need a manual. It is such a lie. It is such a lie and such a gaslight excuse. Oh, I did the best I could. There's no manual. Really, you need a manual not to abuse your children. Ugh. The utter lack of responsibility. I mean, because it sounds good off the tongue. Oh, well, I didn't know any better. There's no manual. You needed a manual to tell you, hey, it's wrong to beat your children. It's wrong to abuse your children. It's wrong to call them names. It's wrong to drop your daughter out of a second-story window because your son won't go buy you cigarettes. Oh, it's not in the book. Are you serious? And she has the nerve to call her adult defiant children expert. A defiant adult child expert here. Need a manual for this. But these abusers, they'll all flock to her because she's an expert. And she told them, well, there's no manual, so I didn't know better. Get wrecked. Get wrecked, honey. You're a monster. You're a monster helping other monsters avoid accountability. Period. A bunch of borderline sociopathic females, okay, helping each other avoid accountability because there's no manual. You think about it. You think about how ridiculous that statement actually is. How absurd on its face once you step back and think about your abuse and what you went through. And to think that if there was a manual telling the parent not to do it, everything would have been just fucking hunky-dory. My God. Like, my God.
Has felt that, especially when they're babies and we don't know what we're doing. We're like, where's the manual? There's no manual for this.
What a moron. What an absolutely moronic, sociopathic thing that would come out of a borderline personality disordered mother's mouth. Monster. You monster. How many of these women have you actually had to call out? So do you have like 100%? 100% of the women who come to you, they're never the problem, ever, right? You call any of them out? Doubt it. Anybody who would say there is no manual isn't calling anybody out for anything.
So frustrating, right? Because you're nervous and you don't know what you're doing. Well, then fast forward and they're growing up and then they come back and...
I'm nervous, so that's why I had to beat the shit out of you. I'm nervous. That's why I had to come into your room at night, drag you around by your hair, shove you out a fucking window, neglect you, allow my new boyfriend to sexually abuse you. Yeah. Because I was nervous and there's no manual. Oh, shit. Well, you're absolved.
Tell you that everything you did was wrong. And that's hard to not take that personally. So
you should take it personally. Because you're the reason why we're fucked up in the first place. Yes, it's on you. Own it. Own it. There was no manual excuse. Okay, holds zero water. It only proves what an abusive monster you are. That something so stupid could come out of your goddamn mouth.
What I want to share with you is something, a good trick to be able to come back at them with. And
come back at it. A good trick. A trick to come back at it. I mean, just listen to her language. This is why it's not worth confronting them, because they already know. They already know why you've gone no contact. They already know they've ruined your life because it was their purpose in the first place. All this is helping other borderlines and helping other abusers skirt any accountability whatsoever.
A way to hopefully resolve these issues. And if it doesn't resolve the issues, then you definitely need to put some boundaries in place.
So they're going to put the boundaries in place. Holy shit. They're going to put the boundaries in place. Do you see, it's not the boundaries they mind. It's who puts them in place that really matters in their mind. Because in their mind, they got to rationalize how they stay on their high horse.
So, just remember, number one, we all make mistakes. As moms, dads, we all make mistakes.
Shoving somebody out a window is not a mistake. Slapping a kid in the face is not a mistake. Beating the shit out of them is not a mistake. Dragging them around by their hair is not a mistake. Swearing at them, calling them fucking stupid, moron, you'll never amount to anything, you're ugly, you're fat, fuckface, asshole, jerk off. Those aren't mistakes. Because like I said, I have no doubt that these people were abused themselves as children. They didn't know it was wrong when it was being done to them. Of course they did. But at some point they made the choice. They made a choice. You could either be a better person, or you could follow along the same narcissistic path and continue the cycle. They choose to continue the cycle.
And the thing is we can provide the most caring, loving home, and your child can have issues launching into adulthood. And at the same time...
So, if you had the most caring and loving home, okay, and the child is now coming and saying you ruined their lives, what the child is accusing you of didn't happen. If it's a caring and loving home, okay, then what are they accusing you of? And then why would you need a trick in order to respond to them? You're full of shit. You need a trick. You need a trick in order to respond to the truthful accusations that that your offspring is leveling at you. That's what the trick is. If this is his caring and loving home, then The accusation should bear no weight whatsoever. But it does. Why? Because the accusations are true. Because remember, there is no manual. How do you say there is no manual and then say it's a caring and loving home in the same breath? A borderline narcissist, that's how. A borderline narcissist trying to act like she knows what the hell she's talking about.
Another mom could have made tons of mistakes, and those children can turn out just fine. So there is no, it's not set in stone at all, as I'm sure most of you know. So if you're...
What does that mean? So another mom can make a ton of mistakes, what you view as mistakes, but the children turn out fine. Which means is, what she's saying is all subjective in her warped sociopathic brain. Okay? She might think what the parent might have been doing at that time is a mistake. Okay? But it really wasn't. So, again, like, this is another trick. My mother would constantly point out other people's mothers that were worse than them. Oh, well, if you had so-and-so's mother, or this one's mother, or that one's mother, this one's mother did this, makes a big scene, and this one did, worry about yourself. They're constantly looking to dilute the issue and spread it out, where the issue is focused, it's pinpoint, it's you.
You're asking yourself, am I a bad parent?
Yes.
Or if your child's telling you that you're a bad parent, more so that case where it's always a battle. The best way to rid yourself of the feeling of that is to dismiss her complaints entirely, right? Argue, you're going to get into a battle. I mean, we all know that's not going to work. So if you haven't yet tried that, you can come back to this video after you realize that doesn't work. Because I promise you it won't.
Right, because we both know the accusations are true. Just dismissing it outright isn't going to go anywhere. So that leads you to where? To the gaslighting, which she's basically giving, I'm sure she's going to be giving here, is gaslighting tips for your own child. And again, this is why I'm telling you, if you're going to go no contact, just go. Just go, because you don't know if your narcissistic parent, if your abuser has been on these channels already.
That's not going to work. So what do we need to do instead? The best way is to replace the self-blame, whether we're doing it to ourselves in our mind.
These people never blame themselves for anything. There is no self-blame with these people.
Self-blame, or if we're hearing it from our child that we're a horrible mom and this is your fault and that's your fault, regardless of where it's coming from.
Again, vague accusation. She's not saying if your child says, you called me names, you beat me, you dragged me around by my hair, you let me get sexually assaulted, you sexually abused me yourself, you neglected me, whatever it is. It's all these vagaries she's talking about, not the actual accusations.
Blame that we have, we need to replace that with self-compassion. And that's what the narcissist needs. Self-compassion, because they've never had self-compassion before in their lives, right? Right? It hasn't been decades of dealing with these people, because it's always about their feelings and their self-compassion, right? That's not why we're in this situation in the first place. So what she's saying is, continue doing what you've always been doing. Will allow you to look more closely at yourself, basically in a kind way that will have more of an open mind. And you notice how, let's say your child is coming at you talking about how you did this wrong and that wrong and everything wrong. Do you notice how I'm not saying about what the child's supposed to do, I'm talking about you, the mom, what you're supposed to do. Because, as I always say, you can only control yourself. So
you can't control yourself, though. If you could have controlled yourselves, You wouldn't be in this situation. You wouldn't abuse your child in the first place if you had any self-control whatsoever.
What do? Well, if you're focusing on yourself like you should be, you will have...
I have to laugh. Every time I hear that, I have to laugh. Because it's just hilarious. The idea that the narcissists, that these people have never been focusing on themselves. That this is the first time I've ever focused on myself. That's all you've ever done your entire life. This is why we're where we're at.
When you start to be able to do that, as you start to have more compassion for yourself, and being able to admit, and despite our mistakes, right? It also helps us to see that...
Mistakes, again, mistakes. Ruining your life was a mistake. Calling you names was a mistake. Competing with you was a mistake. Beating you was a mistake. Dropping you out a second floor window was a mistake. No, honey. Sorry, not sorry. It's you. It's always been you. And you can spout this bullshit all you want, okay? I see through it. Other people see through it. Those of us who have lived through it, see you for exactly what you are.
You know, truly, there is a gap between our intention when we're raising our kids and what we thought it was versus what they experienced. There's always going to be a gap.
Oh, we thought beating you was good. We thought dragging you around by your hair was good for you. Oh, we didn't know. Again, we just didn't have the manual. If we only had a manual. Damn it.
You know, two people can walk out of a conversation and walk out with two different mindsets and, thoughts about what was just said or what they just experienced. And, one person's intention is not...
Yeah, I beat the shit out of you. You walk away feeling like garbage, and I walk away feeling empowered. Yeah, I would say that's definitely two different mindsets.
Always the other person's experience, because remember, their perception, anyone's perception is their reality. So keep that in mind. So what do? Basically call a truce and with your child, and it starts with you, mom first. It doesn't mean that you're wrong and she's...
We don't want a truce with you. We want you out of our lives. We don't want a truce. Here's the truth. Go away. Here, truce. That's it. It's over.
Right. It doesn't matter who's wrong or who's right, and that's what you need to remember.
It doesn't matter who's wrong and who's... It's so long, it doesn't matter. Again, anything to avoid any accountability. It doesn't matter because there was no manual.
Because typically we always justify and we always defend, and like I said, that ends up in total chaos and nobody gets anywhere.
You're trying to justify beating your child? You're trying to justify calling your child names? Yeah, they do. Because at the end, once they're backed into a corner, it goes, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I don't remember it. If it happened, it wasn't so bad. And then the final one is, you actually deserved it. Justification. Okay? You guys all run the same playbook. You're all running the same plays out of the same goddamn playbook. You're fooling nobody but each other.
So rather say something like, I'm sorry that what I did when you were younger or whenever, I'm sorry that what I did affected you the way it did. Even if you know the facts of that whole situation and you disagree, all of that, it doesn't matter.
I'm sorry it affected you the way it did. Well, how do you think name calling, physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, how did you think it was going to affect us? Not I'm sorry for doing it. I'm sorry it affected you the way it did. Not that I'm not sorry I did it. I'm sorry that the effect it had on you. You gotta break down their language to really translate what they're really saying. zero accountability whatsoever.
Because by doing this, not one time, it's going to be a continual thing. But if you do this enough times, you're removing yourself as the enemy for your child. And then they'll have to go find a different target, or they're going to have to start taking responsibility.
So if you fog the issue, if you cloud the waters, you'll confuse the child and they'll go search out and keep seeking what the problem is when they already know what the problem is. She's telling you right here, guys, if you're gonna go no contact, just go. No reason to tell them, because all they're going to do is fog the issue to confuse you and to put you off on some other type of target.
Because they can't keep coming at you if you're constantly coming back to them calmly and, doing this. Because if you're saying, I'm sorry for whatever I did, I'm sorry it affected you that way, and you're calm and you're not raising a battle or anything with them. So it's quite interesting, and I encourage you.
I'm sorry for whatever I did. And I'm
to try it. And if any of you are living that right now, I would love to hear from you and just to see how that worked for you. Because it typically works really, really well. And again, if you've always
an abused offspring is really easy to manipulate. It's really easy to cloud the issue in front of them, because most times they're so nervous and they are so torqued up and their self-esteem is so low when confronting you. Yeah, it's really easy to fog up the works.
Been the battle type person, and then you change your way and you start talking to them like this, they're going to look at you like you're nuts, and they're going to be like, what? This is not my mom.
Hold on a second. Let's see if I heard that right.
Typically works really, really well. And again, if you've always been the battle type person and then you change your way and you start talking to them like this, they're going to look at you like you're nuts, and they're going to be like, what?
No, we're going to look at you like you're a phony. The battle type person, meaning verbally abusive, loud, violent, and now you're just going to start with the sing-songy with the sing-song voice from the high horse. We know you're full of shit. That's gaslighting, honey. And you know it's gaslighting.
This is not my mom.
Right, my mother is a monster. And now she's putting on the sweet voice. And understand something. You might think that this is the first time any of these borderline women have done this. It isn't. It isn't. You think you're giving them some kind of tactic that they haven't already used? You're out of your goddamn mind.
And you're like, no, it's not. Because you need to we can take responsibility for what we did, apologize that it hurt them the way it did. And I'm not talking about major issues, trauma, that kind of stuff. That's different.
If you actually took responsibility for what you had done, that would probably be the end of it. There wouldn't be a need for any of this shit you're talking about. But you don't take responsibility. Ever.
This is where the adult child is coming back, blaming you for, all the things that they had or didn't have, or experiences that they had or didn't have.
Understand, she is another neurolinguistic fucking dream for me as a trained interrogator. Okay, if I had this woman across an interrogation table, I'd roll her in 4 minutes. Because she is so goddamn easy to read. She is thinking, as she's talking, she is thinking about the things she has done herself personally. I would love to get her. I'd love to get her across an interrogation table.
All of those kinds of things. So I hope that helps. And again, if that does not help over a period of time, which it usually does, otherwise, other than that, it's basically verbal abuse. When your adult child is coming at you like this. So that's something to keep in mind too, that's where you have to start putting up those boundaries around.
Oh, you're being verbally. Oh, so when your adult child confronts you and calls you out, Now now you're being verbally abused. But not the mother, not the, it's you're being verbally abused. But it wasn't verbally abusive, okay? Because if you were this aggressive, what did she say? This aggressive type, and now you talk all calmly, that wasn't verbal abuse. That wasn't verbal abuse that you were doing, that you're now confused, that you think you're confusing them with the calm voice. That wasn't verbal abuse. Now it's verbal abuse when you're getting called out on it. Do you see how the borderline minds work? Do you see why this woman is dangerous and these other estranged parents are fucking dangerous? They tell you, if you just listen to them and you kind of could step back and look at it from a little bit of a distance. They tell you everything. They confess to you in their word. They confess to you outwardly, and they don't even realize it.
Around them. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is self-care for sure. So again with the self-care, because that's the problem, is that you guys have never had any self-care ability. If that helps someone, I'd love to hear from you if you've ever experienced something like this and how it has worked for you, or if you're going to do it, and let me know how it worked out. So I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.
What a monster. What an absolute monster. Let's look at some of her other. Let's look at her channel and see. Yeah. Let's see. Exploring silence during estrangement, manipulation versus gaslighting, an unveiled guide for moms of estranged children. I mean, hold on. Let me go here. Dealing with disappointment, why mothers feel hopeless, 5 common mistakes that mom made. They're all mistakes. No, they're not mistakes. It's all purposeful abuse. All of it. This is just dreck. This is absolute borderline personality disordered dreck. What has she got? 14,600 subscribers, 478 videos. Moms of defiant adult kids expert. Now think about that. Think about what that what defiant means. Who is normally labeled defiant? Defiant is normally a term attributed to juveniles. Held to an adult standard as a child, and at the same time, never allowed to grow up. Again, there was no manual. I didn't know not to beat the shit out of you, call you names, sexually abuse you, physically abuse you, compete with you, steal your masculinity, ruin your femininity, crush your self-esteem, push you out a window. If it was only in the manual, I would have known. Oh, look. Oh, who knew? Get wrecked, honey. I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you, Aaron, for the contribution. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this to someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with either the Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to subscribe to both my channels on Rumble. Follow me on Twitter and Telegram as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.